What's up, guys, and welcome back to another Adventure Built. It is snowing out here in Montana. You're not going to believe it. It's actually Halloween. Fall was very short. However, today we're going to do a full review of the brand new Ironman URSA 1300. It's completely redesigned. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, and be sure to watch this video all the way to the end, where I'm going to be sleeping in this tent tonight and giving you my final thoughts of the overall package at the very end. Now, this is not my first Ironman tent. I had their first generation tent, same style, that came out about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and it was not good. There's a couple structural issues, and it leaked on me really bad. I was on a week-long trip in Colorado, and 2 nights it downpoured and my sleeping bag got soaked. So the first thing I did when I got this tent was I installed the brand new truck rack that you can see it on now. I put the tent on it right after I put the rack on. And what I did was I brought the tent out here to the back part of my property and I set it up for a month. Now, I moved it around a couple times just to get some other video, but it has been sitting out here for a month long in some legit rainstorms and now here in the snow. And I can tell you right now, it has not leaked even a little bit, which is a great thing for Ironman to have fixed that issue. They really do listen to their customers. The very first thing I want to say about this tent is Ironman came out swinging for the fences when they made this version of this tent, because they have not only fixed all their issues, but they've kind of integrated everything into this tent. And I'm actually really impressed. Let's do a walk around of the outside and work our way to the inside. Let's start with mounting. Mounting the tent was really easy, especially with the truck rack, where I was able to access all of the bolts from the underside. Obviously, it'd be a different scenario if I was putting this on the 2020 Tacoma with the really low clearance of the RLD Designs rack. That'd be a different situation. However, mounting it on the truck rack was no problem at all. I also added a little bit of extra security using the Van Ultra locking mount. So 3 of the mounts are the factory mounts from Ironman. 1 is the locking mount from Van Ultra, just for that extra security. Not that I'm worried here in Montana, but better safe than sorry when traveling. The initial setup of the tent was not as straightforward as you would imagine, only because it's so advanced in its storage. The spring poles are actually stored inside the tent in a bag at the very foot of the entryway, which is great. It's an amazing place. It's one of the first companies I've seen actually have a storage bag for those where it attaches to the tent so it can't roll around inside. However, not knowing, it was a little bit challenging to find, and there's really not instructions to show you or any kind of tag. You kind of have to know it's there to find it. Starting at the front, the ladder is actually really nice. It doesn't squeak. The last one had a terrible squeak every step you took on it. This one is nice and quiet. The foot bags themselves are really rugged. They've got these really nice Cobra buckles on them. Personally, I think they're a bit of overkill, but it's just a really nice touch. The bag itself is big, opens up nice, and you can kind of definitely fit, I don't know, I bet you could fit a pair of snow boots in this. Plus, you've got a mesh pocket on the front, solid pocket on the front, and a couple side pockets, just for whatever knickknacks you want to put in there before you get inside your tent. Also, Ironman put the hook side of Velcro on the front here in 2 strip sections. That way, I guess you could kind of, put tags on here for whose shoes are in which bag, or it's just tacked cool. On the underside cantilever section of the URSA tent itself is this kind of a cargo net hammock, which I'm assuming you can store things in that you want to keep dry from the elements while you're at camp. And I'm going to imagine that while it's closed, it would actually have enough room where you could put your sleeping bags or other, quilted material that kind of squishes flat in here and store it with the tent closed as well. Definitely something to test out. Here on the left side of the tent, it's got a really big window. There's also a large weather protected cover here on spring poles that's going to protect you from a lot of rain and obviously a lot of snow like we're having right now. Also on this left side, there's a hidden feature that you might have to search for a little bit if you didn't know it was here. There's a diesel heater port, which is nearly a necessity here in Montana. Here on the back side of the tent, you have the ABS cover, which is completely redesigned from previous generations, and it looks way better. The previous one in the Arizona sun faded in a couple weeks, and it never became clean after that because it just kind of held on to all the dirt and the fading. This one, like I said, has been outside for almost a month now, getting covered in rain, pine needles, and it still looks really nice. The right side of the tent, again, has a large window with that large weather protected vestibule over it. Again, another feature that you wouldn't know unless you were looking for it, a second diesel heater port, which is great versatility. Ironman really thought out the fact that people might have a diesel heater mounted on their roof rack, and if they mount this tent the other way, it just wouldn't be able to run a large hose around the whole tent. Now you have that option to run it on either side. Very well thought out by Ironman, integrating that. I don't really know of any other tent out there that has two diesel heater ports. One is kind of standard now in most tents. Two is just kind of above and beyond. Now, climbing into the tent is actually very straightforward. Like I said, the ladder is a lot quieter than the previous generation ladder. That one squeaked and it was very unstable. This one, very stable, really nice addition. However, the only thing that I'm really not a huge fan of is the size of this vestibule. It's really small, it's very low. Right now I'm kind of crunched over. I understand you're not gonna spend a lot of time in here. However, taking shoes on and off, it's kind of nice in the morning to be able to sit upright. And right now I just can't, especially with the vestibule being a little bit wet. My beanie's getting wet from the condensation. Just not optimal. Definitely not as big as the 23-0 Armadillo XL. I can actually sit up completely almost straight with a little bit of bend to my head. This, not so much. Up here inside the tent, again, very spacious. These 2/3 hard shell foldovers, the iCamper style rooftop tents, have a lot of good use of space because you do get to fold that out and give yourself nearly a queen size mattress up here. So let's talk about the mattress. In the old generation, the mattress was absolutely horrific. In my wife's own words, beginning quote, "I will not sleep in this tent until you fix this mattress," end quote. So I had to get a Xped style mattress. I just got an Amazon deal. It was actually very comfortable and it fit in the tent very well. However, it was a pain to put away and set up. So added a lot of time to the takedown and setups periods. But again, it was very comfortable. Now, this mattress is a vast improvement. I've slept in this tent 3 nights now, and I will say even for a side sleeper, it's pretty darn good. Working our way from the front of the tent to the back on the inside, the vestibule, again, is very short. I wish it was just a little bit higher, a little bit more headroom to take your shoes on and off. That would be a nice addition. The door is very large. You have a mesh and a solid panel door, which is really good to have. Inside the tent, you also have 2 LED strips, one in the front, one in the back, which both wired down to one cable with one switch controller, which is really nice. If you only want one light, you can unplug one or the other, which is just a good feature. The light itself, just like the under the awning light, is going to be bright white, kind of a yellow, and then an amber for bugs. And then you can throttle that intensity as well from a low dim light to a bright light. Very nicely done. Again, the windows very large, letting a lot of light in, and you have screen and then hard panel windows. You have really good head height inside the tent here. The spring rod in the middle kind of arches up to give you that nice clearance. I'm 5'10", normal size torso, and I probably have 12 inches to the ceiling of this tent, so you get a lot of room. There's also a sunroof, so if you want to stargaze, you can do that. You just unzip this. A little tricky to do with the spring pole in here, but you could obviously take that out if you didn't want it obstructing your view. And then again, you have a nice hard panel back wall that is carpeted and is really nice. Again, first version, this delaminated, and obviously this was in Arizona and there's a lot of heat involved in that, but it delaminated and all the carpet was hanging. I haven't had a single issue with this delaminating. You also have this really nice, that I've never seen before, a cargo net back here. You can actually stuff pillows and sleeping bags to once again kind of store it inside the tent. Really nice feature. And on both the left and right side of the tent near the diesel heater port, you have 3 good sized pockets just to keep all your items organized while you're inside the tent. There is one thing that just annoys me, and that's this spring rod here that holds the tent in a arching upward position to give you that really good headroom. It's a kind of a love-hate relationship. I like it because it does offer so much headroom, but I hate it because it is a pain in the butt to install. I've actually had the end here that goes towards the door. I've had it kind of fall out when I've moved this a little bit, and it's not a fun thing to have happen when that spring rod just wants to snap open. And I've also forgot it when putting the tent away. So you get up to the point where you hit this, it doesn't want to close and you can't figure out why. Well, it's because I keep forgetting the spring rod is in here. So it's one of those things where I wish there's a better design. I don't know what that would look like, but it is one of those things that just kind of bothers me. That is a full walk around of the inside as well as the outside of the new URSA 1300, but the fun doesn't stop there. I got two other mods that are going to really expand the versatility of this tent. And the first one is going to be kind of the reason I waited for it to be so cold, and that is a thermal liner. And that's what this right here is. I've actually never installed this in a tent before, so I'm really interested to see how it goes in. Let's learn together. What is the real purpose of a thermal liner? Well, it's like a jacket for the inside of your rooftop tent to keep that heat in. The tent's got two diesel heater ports. I'm going to utilize those with my diesel heater, and I'll be pumping in hot air in here all night long, which is going to keep me nice and toasty thanks to this guy here. And this looks like a synthetic quilted material that I'm hoping just easily lines this whole area and keeps me nice and toasty all night long. So all I'm basically doing is orienting this kind of the same way this is laid out. Front door goes this way, back goes this way, sunroof goes this way, windows on each side. So now that I have it oriented, all I'm gonna do is take all these hooks and hook them into the loop end on this end and basically just go and do that across everything, and it should just lay in here really nicely. I got the back wall in and it's all fitting very nicely. Now I'm just gonna go through and go back to front, hooking all the bars into the loops and just get this thing put in. I got the thermal liner all installed, and it is actually already starting to warm up in here just with my body moving around. Even with the front door open, it's starting to get a little bit warm in here. Initially when I was in here, and I forget the video of it, it was 37 degrees according to my Kestrel, and now it is 42 degrees. So it is warming up in here quite a bit by 5 degrees just from my body heat and this thermal lining, which is really good, especially because when I spend the night out in the negative 20-degree temperatures, this is going to be a big difference. There are a couple drawbacks to this thermal liner. Obviously, one is going to be it blocks the lighting, the interior lighting. It is a pretty thick material, so it's not letting much of the light in. I'm sure when it's super dark and I put them on, it might be just a tad bit of ambient light, but otherwise I'll be using a flashlight in here. And the second one is it does hang down a little bit, so it gives you that feeling that everything is just a little bit closer, so you kind of lose a little bit of that interior space. But for the benefit of staying warm and not freezing to death, I think it's worth it. Thermal liner is all sealed up in the tent, and now I'm going to hook up the diesel heater and start pumping heat in there and just kind of see how long it takes to get to a nice warm temp. I've got the diesel heater hooked up and it is running right now. It's the H Calorie. It's last year's model, their newest launch for last year. I actually just picked up a few diesel heaters off Amazon for this year, and I'm going to do some side-by-side testing once it gets a little bit colder so I can see if they work in the extreme cold. Now, I've got it hooked up to the DJI Power 1000 using a AC inverter to run it because it wouldn't run it on DC power alone because there wasn't enough amperage being put out by the power bank. So this AC inverter actually works really good. Now, I just stuck my hand up in the tent. Let's get up there and kind of see what the temperatures are at because it's getting chilly out. Well, it is like a sweat lodge in here. It is the Kestrel is saying it's 94 degrees here in the tent, and all it is just pumping heat right in, and it's like hot in here. So I'm gonna have to lower this down. I'm gonna get my handy dandy little key fob here, get this thing a little bit set to a lower temperature, otherwise I'm gonna melt tonight. I got the diesel heater adjusted, so now it's like 72-ish degrees in the tent, which is a really nice, comfortable temperature. It's about 5:30. I'm gonna go inside, have my Halloween spaghetti dinner with the wife. Then I'm gonna come out, sleep in this, and I'll let you guys know what it's like in the morning. It's just after 9 and I got back to the truck. I turned the area light on, which is just a really nice feature to have. Anything with built-in lights is just a +10 on my level of convenience. I just put a little power bank in here, turn it on, and it's good to go. It's enough area light where I can see about 15-20 feet around the front of the tent here. And it is obviously very dark here in Montana, even at 9 o'clock, because it's winter, well, nearly winter time, but it's snowing. So yeah, I consider it winter, but it does get very dark out here, and this does throw out quite a bit of light. And again, this here turns from bright white to kind of a yellowish to more of a straight amber, obviously for bug deterrence kind of light, and then turns off and then back on to white. And then obviously you can go up and down, toggle to the different brightness levels. Very nice, very convenient. And I was doing a little bit of research on this tent, and I actually found out one thing that I did not know and had no idea, and it's actually really, really trick. I'm gonna save that to the end. Diesel heater's going, time to crawl in. I'll tell you what, this thermal lining is definitely working, and it's working really well. I've got both windows open. I've only been in the tent maybe 10 minutes to set my bedding up, and it's went from 37 degrees in here. Now it is, well, my Kestrel says it's 50 degrees. However, I don't think that's right because I'm sweating right now. So I think it's closer to 75. My Kestrel's just trying to catch up. And oh, already says 55. So yeah, it's slowly catching up to what it really is inside here. But it's nice and warm. Now my sleep system tonight is going to be Hest. I'm using the Hest down comforter and the Hest pillow. I've been dying to try these out, and I'm able to do that even in these cold temps. I'm expecting low 20s tonight. I'm able to do that because of the diesel heater and this thermal lining. So really good system, and I'm hoping that it works well, because if the diesel heater dies, I might get cold. We'll see. I'll see you guys in the morning. Good morning, guys. Made it through the night and got a good night's sleep. The thermal lining is really nice. The best benefit I found from it is it actually heats the entire tent, not just where the diesel heater port is. So even my feet on the opposite end of the tent didn't get cold all night. It was really nice. As far as the mattress, like I said, it's really good. If it was maybe a ½ inch thicker, I'll actually put the thickness up on the screen here because I don't have my tape measure with me right now, and I'll measure it later. But if it was a ½ inch thicker, I think it would be perfect. But right now, it's pretty darn good. It's a big question mark if there's going to be any kind of issues with the thermal liner inside the tent, putting it away. Let's find out. Before I put the tent away, you got to check this out. So I found out the reason why these things are so beefy, and that's because it's actually a backpack. It's a little day pack. So you can throw this on your back, go to a waterfall hike or whatnot if you forget your regular backpack. It's just a very well thought out idea that I'm sure someone's going to use out there, and it looks cool. And of course, it's starting to snow again. Well, the tent is put away and it went away. It was a little snug. I had to really push on the top to get it down and closed up. So there's just not a lot of room in there. You're not really going to be able to store a lot of bedding in there. You might be able to get one sleeping bag and kind of lay it flat. But as far as like pillows, probably not going to fit. It's really, really a tight package. Again, lower profile form factor for the whole tent, so I can understand why there's not a lot of excess room in there. Final thoughts. This tent rocks. I find nothing wrong with this tent, which is a really good thing since their first generation tent was absolute garbage. IRONMAN came out swinging for the fences and they nailed it with this version. The only thing that I wish were a bit different was I wish they would get rid of that spring rod and do something different that was just easier. And I also wish that they would find a way to make that vestibule entryway maybe 4 inches taller. I know I'm being super nitpicky now, but come on guys, you have gone 99% of the way making this thing absolutely amazing. I mean, just doing that little bit of change would make a big difference, not having to drag your head across the vestibule, putting your shoes on and off. Other than that, it's absolutely great. Especially the price point, it's $2,500, and then IRONMAN has sales all the time. Right now they're doing 10% off for Halloween, so that's $2,250. It's a fantastic buy. If you stuck around all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. If you want to watch another review or another overland related video, wait 2 seconds. It will be up on the screen for you to click that link. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.